What's up, fam? It's your boy Jack Spade. In this series, we're going to be talking about why I choose Ableton Live as my main DAW. And in this video, we're going to be talking about drum racks. Right now, I just want to go ahead and show you the layout here. All right, so you have 16 pads, you know, your normal 16 pads, but you also can go to these other sections here or drag up and down, and you see you have way more pads. I believe it's 128 in total. So you got 128 sounds you can put on there, and I can show you an example of that. I have a preset saved here, and boom. And if you look up here, everything is automatically routed to its own fader. But when you're dealing with something that is this massive, it's kind of hard sometimes to mix, putting 128 different drum sounds. Sometimes I might, because they're easy to, you know, extract from the drum rack into its own individual track. So I know that sounds confusing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me go ahead and continue to explain what's going on here. All right, let's switch back. Since this is a little confusing to have all of these tracks, let's go ahead and switch back to the other drum rack. So on each one of these pads, you understand that there's a sound and everything, and this is the waveform for each one of these individual pads. But what this is also the sampler that you can use to sample inside of Ableton Live. You can literally like drag this to another track, and now it's its own device, you know, and you could pitch it up and down and play it on the keys. So you understand that this sampler is very versatile, and they're using it to be the device inside of these drum racks. Of course, you can process these sounds separately. As you see, they're already tracked out here. The layering is on another level. If I wanted to layer something on top of this right here, if I were to drag it like that, then it would replace it, right? But if I drag it while holding Command, what it does is layer it. And the way it does that is it actually creates a container for these two sounds to live in. And it's not just sounds. These are two devices. These are two simpler devices living within a instrument rack device. In itself, it's a lot of things that you could do with an instrument rack, and I'll get into that on another video. But with this, you know, I have two samplers, two fully functioning samplers inside of an instrument rack. And so you can mess with these volumes here and mess with it up here and mix your kicks how you like them. You could drag another kick. Now, when I drag it in there, it creates a simpler, but it's on classic mode when I drag it in there like that. So, got to change it to one shot. Now, what I like to do is actually play with the filters. I can solo that. Now, another cool thing is how you can actually add effects to these different sounds individually. You could add them on this track up here, and it shows each individual sound if you do it like that. You could look at the entire instrument rack, or you could actually look at the entire drum rack. So you see that it's just everything is contained in, you know, different containers basically. So let's go ahead and name this kick. Let's call it Monster Kick. So each one of these individual sounds can have an effects chain. Now this compressor is on the entire group. This drum bus is on the entire group now. But if I can move this and compress over here, it's just affecting this individual kick. I'll move it over here. It's affecting all of these kicks. Now I have this drum bus affecting all of the different drums. So every time I change the pad to a new one, you're always going to see that drum bus because it's on every single track. It's on every single sound. Now this is the sound chain for this entire drum rack. So if I were to add something else, let's say another saturator. So I can add that to the entire kick. So this is the chain for, this right here is the chain for this entire instrument rack. And this right here is the chain for each individual sound. See the difference? It's a little confusing, but you get it once you start using it. The signal flow goes from left to right, and if these devices, if this is touching this device, then it is affecting that device. So if it's connected directly to it, then it's flowing right through it, you know. And then right here is where all of the signal for this instrument rack comes out and goes into, you know, these devices. And then right here is where the signal flows out into the main overall drum rack, and this sound is affecting every single device, every single instrument rack, everything inside the drum rack. And I could go on and on about layers. Layers is just how I make my drums sound so beefy and so good. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna start a beat in order to show you some of the other functions that you can do with drum racks. So let's get the tempo, probably like 145, something like that. And I'm not trying to be perfect with this. I'm just gonna make something so you can understand what's going on. So I just added those hi-hats with my push, right? But there's obviously more ways that you can add those hi-hats in. I don't typically like to draw my stuff. Other people can do that, and you can do that on here if you want, you know. You can press B and just like do that. So when I'm in the studio in front of my push, I use note repeat to do those trap hi-hat. But when I'm on the go, I use a different method. Now, what I do is just use the arpeggiator. Now, this is my hi-hat. I'm gonna drop an arpeggiator on there. As you see, it's at a rate of 1/8. Now, holding that down gives you 1/8 division note repeat. So what I like to do is rename these hat 8 for 1/8. And then I'll go over here. What I'll do is hold down Alt and drag it to another pad. It duplicates it. And then I can change the rate. Then I also change the name. Then I'll do it again. Maybe change this one to 148. So now you can use your keys and just hold it down, and you got note repeat. What I recommend doing is putting those sounds in a choke group, those hi-hats, and that way, you know, they won't overlap each other. So, all right, so let's go ahead and add these hi-hats. You can change the velocity by holding down Command on the note. You can also change it down here. All right, let's get rid of the metronome. Okay, so within the drum rack, you can mix these individual sounds. And that's cool. Actually, let's move them together. So right now, if I wanted to move this clip to the arrangement view, I can hold this down and hit tab while I got that held down and put it on, make sure I put it on the drum track. So now it's on there. And you can open it up and everything. Loop it. Even can put it all together like that. But if I'm arranging these things and I wanted, you know, the hi-hats to drop out on that part, I'll have to go inside each individual MIDI clip and maybe color it differently, you know, just to show that it's a different one. You can do it like that. Sometimes I do. But another way that you can do it is by extracting those individual sounds from the drum rack and putting it on its own track. Let's say you wanted this kick to be on its own track, right? You could just hit extract chains and boom. Now this kick, let's turn this kick to orange and put a sign, track the color to group. And then it always puts it at the end here, so gotta drag it back up. Now I can label that kick. What you could also do, and let me go back to the mixer so I can show you this other way of extracting chains. You can go to the actual mixer and you could take all your hi-hats, because you know you're gonna affect these all the same, right? You extract the chains from this drum rack, and now it's in its own track, in its own group. You can just put hats, and once I go back to here, you can see that the hats track has just been created. Change the color again here. All right, so you can see that the MIDI information is gone for this drum rack, but this drum rack is still here. It just has the sounds that has been extracted are gone, so those pads are empty. But the other sounds are still here. One cool thing you could do is, now that they're on their own track, you can still put them back into a group. So if I wanted to use this drum bus from the drum racks that I was using, I can just drag it over here to this group. Now it's on the entire group, just like it was. And let's loop this here. Command L to loop. So that's it. That's drum racks in a nutshell. It's super dope. I love this device, and it's just one of the devices that I really love inside of Ableton Live, and is why I choose Ableton Live as my DAW. On the next episode, we're going to be talking about instrument racks and how you can layer your instruments in a cool, innovative way. So I know you've been YouTubing for a while and you definitely know how to hit that like button, but I want to also ask you to hit that subscribe button if you like this type of content. So that's it, man. Jack Spade is out, and I'll catch you on the next episode.